unmute yourself at any time and ask any questions. I really don't mind. This is a little bit more of an informal one where you can jump in and you can talk and you can say whatever you like. But I'm just going to cover a few things that I think are super important to Alpha, and I'm going to start with Flashbots. So I just want to give everybody a quick overview of Flashbots. Everything that I'll be talking about, I'll be linking in a nice document with all the links that I follow, and so you don't have to go and look over the video. You can just also go and click on the links. So the first thing we're going to do is add this to our MetaMask, and what a flashbot is basically, it helps protect you from being front run and helps you save gas. How does it help you save gas? Well, you essentially bribe a miner. You pay a miner directly to confirm your transaction on the blockchain, and once it's confirmed, it's then put on the blockchain, and then it will be seen on Etherscan. How normal transactions work, when you first set a transaction, you push it through, it goes to something called the meme pool or mempool, however it's pronounced, and in this pool, everybody can see it. And when people see it, they either can front run you, make a decision. And what's the most important about this part right here, no cost for failed transactions. So if you're sending somebody ETH, if you're minting, if you're buying something, sweeping the floor, migrating a contract, whatever, if it's on ETH mainnet, then you can use Flashbots, and if the transaction gets dropped or fails, you never pay. I repeat, you never pay for a transaction that failed. Never. You do still pay for gas as usual, you just don't pay for any failed transactions. Okay, so we can go further down, and then this is how we add it. Click it, and you can do this to your MetaMask on your cell phone as well. That's perfectly fine. And then you essentially copy and paste everything like this. And again, I will post this in the chat for us so we all can see. And as it says, the chain is currently used by the mainnet network, and that's correct because we're still on the ETH mainnet. And once you save it, I have two connected wallets, and they both are on now connected. I can use it for any transaction again that uses ETH mainnet. So if I'm trying to buy something on OpenSea, I'm trying to sweep the floor, I'm just sending myself a transaction, like I'm just trying to send my friend some ETH or pay a bill or whatever, Flashbots is your best friend. So I went over installing on MetaMask. We must go through some of the negative downside with regards to this. And the downside is, one, it takes a bit longer to get confirmed. What do I mean by this? Okay. So because you're paying a miner directly, not all the miners are hooked up to this. What I've noticed is the amount of successful transactions I put through when I use Flashbots is much less. For instance, I think it's about 30% less confirmed transactions because they take so long to confirm. When I say take so long, sometimes it's 3 minutes longer, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it drops, sometimes you need to go and sometimes it stays pending, which means that when you put through a transaction, the transaction doesn't drop, but it continues to go and no one picks it up, which means you can't make another transaction. So what you need to do is you will need to delete your MetaMask. You literally go like this, you remove it, and you re-download it, and you add Flashbots again, and then you continue, and it kicks out all old transactions. All pending TXs get kicked out. It's almost like that non-strict that lots of people use, that hack that helps them kick out pending transactions or stuck transactions on their MetaMask, which is also another lifesaver. So if you are trying to mint something, Flashbots is the best way because again, if you're in a gas war, there's hundreds, sometimes thousands of people pushing transactions, which makes the the gas skyrocket and usually leads to failed transactions because you didn't put enough gas. So that's another use case where it's super beneficial. Um, if I have any questions from me or anyone else, please let me know, and you're more than welcome to ask at any time. But okay, flashbots are one of the most important things that I use every day for everything, um, to save myself gas, to save myself like a lot of money over a long period of time, and heartache, because being front run, I didn't really go into it, but front run means when you're trying to put through a transaction, somebody on the mempool sees it, and they essentially put a transaction through faster than your transaction in the same block, which then makes you pay them to push your transaction through. So you kind of pay them on top of paying for your gas. So it's a, yeah, and again, you can't get front run if you use flashbots because it doesn't sit in the mempool, so no one sees it. It goes straight to the miner. Okay, so I'm gonna go on the next one, which all ties into how to pick projects, when to decide when is a good time to sell, hold, all of these things I'm gonna try to cover shortly. So I first wanted to start at how to pick a project. And the most important for me personally, and again, none of this is financial advice. This is just some some tricks and tips that I think community members use in the Web3 space and what I use personally, and some stuff I picked up. And again, not financial advice, but just some things that we personally use, and have picked up from the community. Like most of the things that I am able to do today is because I've learned from other community members that have taught me or helped me in the past. But okay, how to pick projects. For me, the most important is the team, the art, the community, the liquidity, and the tokenomics. I'm just going to start at the team. The team is super important for a wide variety of reasons. Um, and the team is important because they're the ones that can be building the project. They're the ones that are going to be basically you trusting with their money. And the team is important because there's a lot of scams and rugs happening, and there's a lot of bad actors. So if you know people in the team, and again they are veterans in the space, then please let me. Oh, so sorry. It's always good to know people in the space, and if you know someone on the team, it's a really really good idea to invest in a team that you trust, invest in a team that you know that has past experience, not just a fly by night situation, and that's super important. So, and again, a lot of people run a lot of projects. I'll just use someone as an example. His name's Inurashi, and he's a dev. He's a really good dev, and he has helped cyberkongs. He has helped anonymize. He has helped. Now I'm scroll on my Discord because he's helped so many. It's actually kind of crazy. He's helped about 10. Zen Apes is another one. So he's a veteran in this space. And if he's on a project, for instance, I doesn't have my full confidence, but I'm almost at at the front of the line, and I'm asking questions. I'm asking, hey, Inu, what's the tokenomics? Inu, what's going on? I really want to get a perception, or I want to get a context of what's going on. What's he building? Is he using his old infrastructure? Is he using new stuff? He likes to, I know him for the past few months. I would say about 7 to 9 months. So I get a sense of how he builds things, how long it takes, etc., etc. So the team and it's not just the dev, it's the founders, it's the mods, it's and the team also ties in the community. The team is the one that echoes what the community will be in the beginning. So the team is like one of the most important. Now, it's not really important that every team member is doxxed. Like I just said, there's one person called Inuarashi. He's been in the space for a long time. Um, he has a really good reputation, but he's not doxed, as in we don't know his first name, we don't know where he lives, and all those things. And I don't think in his case it's important, but most of the time being doxed is definitely a positive. Then, with regards to liquidity, liquidity and volume of a project. So it depends if you see, it all depends on your strategy, but it depends if you're early, as in has it minted, or is it on secondary already? Has it minted out and are you looking at a project? If you're looking at a project, liquidity and volume is one of the most important things across the board, whether you're investing in DeFi or NFTs. And volume and liquidity is super important. For instance, if you're trying to buy a new collection and they only, they didn't mint out and the volume is, let's just say, under one ether, then it's probably not the best idea to go into it right now, unless you know other information that might be more bullish. So, and then with regards to volume, a lot of projects have a token, and the token is always tied to the NFT's volume. For instance, if the volume of the NFT is low, usually the liquidity within inside of the liquidity pool, and this also ties into the tokenomics. If the tokenomics are broken, most of the time the project itself is broken because it's all tied into one thing. So you can break it down individually, but they all tie together. Most of the time, again, if you have a wrecked token, most of the time your project's pretty much wrecked. So people are very careful about their tokenomics, and a lot of people, a lot of projects are getting it a little bit wrong and creating. This is one of the biggest problems with liquidity and tokenomics. Sorry, I'm tying two separate things that are tied together into one quickly, but I will separate it again for us later. But with regards to tokenomics, it's utmost importance that the liquidity pool always has liquidity, and there's a wide range of techniques and things you can do that projects do to ensure basically that their liquidity pool is always full with ETH. And that's to have a tax on buying or selling, or treasury fills it, or something that with that regard. But again, if the project has no sense of tokenomics and there's no volume, it's probably a bad project. Something that's very important, not important, it depends on the project. It depends on what the project kind of tells us from the get-go of what they are. I'm talking about art. I'm talking about the PFPs that are strictly art, like um, Toads by Greppelin, for an example. That is an art PFP project, right? It has no utility. Um, the NFT doesn't give you access to an alpha channel. It doesn't have utility. That is also something in a project that is super important. But I want to quickly just touch on the art. The art is important if it's just an art project, and it's something that helps bring people towards a project. But in the same breath, art isn't always necessarily the most important factor, because people are buying funny JPEGs. When I say funny JPEGs, we could have seen the Kevin memes today, and you know, I don't want to go in the private department where people are taking crazy pictures and making lots of money off of it and all these funny things. But the art is important to a certain degree, and I would say it's like 70% important, unless they state from the get-go it's a meme or the art sucks and it doesn't matter, and then the community kind of runs with it. And that kind of is trending. Like there's a lot of projects like, you know, um, I don't want to say projects that are trying to put out bad art. I'm just trying to say that they are maybe riding the wave of trendy, funny memes. Like this one project that I really love it. It's called Fast Food Friends, and it's like a McDonald's Pepe, and yeah, the art. I like the art. But other people like it, other people hate it, and to them it's not that important because that's not what gonna bring. That's what is in their project gonna bring them to their project. Is the fact that everybody's memeing it on Twitter, everybody's making it their profile pictures or their PFPs on Discord. So art is, it is a big thing in our space, but in certain projects it doesn't matter. So it depends on the project. And then community, 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 community. Everything that we know basically comes from each other. And if you go into the Discord, the Twitter, not necessarily if it's quiet. If there's small amounts of chatter, but the chatter is something called high value, that's something that can be beneficial to you. That can be an indicator that you're early. If there's a lot of big brains in there, a lot of people that, you know, run other projects or founders of other projects, and in their community it might be quiet, it might be loud, it might be, you know, like the Habibis, it might be lots of noise, lots of hype, lots of talking. Doesn't necessarily always mean good or bad, because sometimes what I've noticed is people continuously have bots um, in their discords, in on their Twitter, like they have 10,000 followers, but three likes, two retweets. But at the same stage, it's who retweets it. Was it somebody that people respect in the Kongs community, which can be a big thing? So it all comes back to who's in the community, why are they there, what value do they add? Because just by having one or two people in your community could change the whole project. There's this famous guy called Coco, and he's like the the one of the leaders or founders of Kongs, and if he's in your project, he can change and flip the whole project on its head. And having many strong people in your community is good than having one strong person. So it's always the weakest link is kind of the Achilles heel of the community. So going into the Discord and really like engaging and going to all the channels, it's like, hey, what's up? How you doing? And then and not only surface level chatter, go into the Discord and ask them about their project. Ask them about their tokenomics. Ask what the community feels about it. Because sometimes even the community is upset about certain things. Sometimes you come into a Discord into the wrong time. Like I'm a mod at Anonymize, and I'm a big time um it takes a big part of my life. And even if you come into the Discord certain times, sometimes community members are really riled up. Sometimes they upset about certain things. That doesn't mean it's a terrible Discord, but coming to a Discord that has FUD, that's not always a good thing. So there's a lot of aspects to look at that are all tied together, from team, liquidity, tokenomics, art, and community. And all of them are so important, and we can talk about them for like hours. And if anyone wants to ask any questions with regards to anything, please do. You're allowed to jump in at any time. Um, so yes, and then I wanted to just also touch on, you see, you need to you need to pick things your that fit your stride, that fit your personality. Are you a long-term holder or are you a flipper? Are you someone that's looking to mint a lot of things? Or are you looking to buy some shit coins? Are you trying to flip some banana tokens, or are you trying to flip some um, humans of NFT? Are you trying to make it a short term or long term? Some people are really good at short term. Some people are really good at long term. I'm, for instance, just good at being early. I can see a project sometimes. I'm like, I think they got something, and then I kind of just then I talk to them. So what I wanted to say is stick to your strengths. Someone like me is good at being early, and I'm somewhat an okay trader. I'm not the best. When I compare myself, I compare myself to other people in Web3, and these are some of the best people in the world. So, I've seen people make like 20 ETH in one day or for 5 ETH. It's possible. It's just not something that happens to me very often, or if not at all. So, my strengths are being early and being able to spot projects that I believe or know that will do good in the future. And there's a lot of projects that I minted and joined early, like Kongs, like Anonymize, and I think like Humans of NFT, Randomize. There's a lot of projects like Hoots that I think I got in early, and it's gonna pay off. But how to pick and when to decide when is a good time to sell? Now it depends on your strategy. It depends on what type of shoe you want to choose for that day to perfectly fit your foot, right? And if you're picking a long-term situation, and these are some strict rules that I always try to apply if I can. Always be liquid. Always buy multiple of the same collection. For instance, if you're trying to buy some small brands or bodies, I suggest you get between 2 and 10, right? Especially if you're able to mint it or you buy secondary, I suggest you do that. Why? Because as the price increases, you can de-risk, sell some, take some profit. Always take profit. Always take profit. We are way too emotional in these markets, and when things are flying, I think people think when they see 1 to 2 ETH, I think it's going to go to 4 ETH, and then they get wrecked. So the best thing is to always buy multiple, and as the price climbs, or in your and if the worst scenario happens, if it goes down and you're a little bit scared, if it's a short-term thing, you can always let go and try to recoup most of your costs. Again, Flashbots are your best friend when selling, buying, because you can use really low gas and you won't pay for your failed transaction. So, best time to sell. Obviously, when the price is in a green positive direction. And ooh, I also just wanted to quickly touch on a few marketplaces are popping up and they will continue to pop up. So I will say stuff like if you're able to sell something higher on LooksRare or X2Y2, go and do that. Always go and explore your options. Always go and ask the community. Go into our alpha channel or general and be like, hey, if I try to sell it here, what's the commission? Commissions are important because every time somebody takes 2.5% from you or 3%, it cuts into your profits. Your gas is high, it cuts into your profits. So just remember to keep your gas consumption low. How? Flashbots, and to always I lost my train of thought there. Sorry about that. But always try to keep your options open. Always try to diversify as well. Again, depending on your strategy, this is the most important. If you're someone that can't diversify and you want to stick to 2 or 3 projects, perfect. Or even one project, perfect. That's okay. If it works for you, it works for you. I also wanted to say when you decide to sell, a lot of us are doing this emotional thing of, you get super happy and excited or you're super sad. I just try to see it as a window of opportunity on both sides. The price is high, opportunity. Price is low, an opportunity. I can either buy more or I can sell. But avoid being emotional. Avoid panicking. Panicking leads to losing money essentially because you make silly decisions. And we're all guilty of it. I do it all the time. Sometimes I try to sweep the floor. I do it like 2 or 3 times because Flashbots didn't work, or sometimes someone else has swept the floor just before me, and now I must try again. And sometimes you become agitated and annoyed, and then you put high gas, and then you lose your thought process. So don't become emotional. Learn to calm down and make decisions in a rational place. When to sell is also a thing that's tied to sentiment, volume. Volume is important because even if you're trying to sell something, whether it's a very popular NFT or not so popular NFT, if there's no volume for your NFT, you're not necessarily going to be able to sell it immediately. So it goes back to knowing people in the community where you can maybe reach out in the trade channels and say, hey, OTC, and make deals in the trade channels. Also, when you do OTC, it's more dangerous because you need to trust the other party. However, if you only use trusted methods, NFT trader, and only do OTC with people that are trusted community members, and you can go into the Discord, search their Discord ID, and check how long they've been there. And you can ask mods, be like, hey, has this person had any previous trades that were bad or anything like that? And they usually, all Discords are very helpful. So go to the community and ask, but volume, super important. Again, if you have 5 or 10 of the NFT and you're trying to sell it and there's no volume, you're never going to be able to sell it. So it's something always to take into account. And then finally, I wanted to speak about research. I'm going to quickly head to Etherscan while I talk about the research because it's the most important place to be. So, research. How do you do your research? Where do you start? What are you doing? How I start? I hear the project in a random Discord, whether I'm in humans, alpha, or a friend tells me in real life. I head to the project, either on Twitter, OpenSea. I find their account, and I think this is one of the most important things. Whether it's a big project, new project, you always go and you do your research. You start usually at their OpenSea, their Twitter, and Etherscan. So you go to OpenSea, you check their volume over here, their floor price, very important, collection size, and the amount of owners, very important. Activity 2, also important. You can go and check over a long period of time, but for me, what's the most important, where the money is really, where all the magic happens. It's a beautiful place right here, and it leads to a place called Etherscan. Now, there's a million different ways to find contracts. There's a million different ways to think of Etherscan, but Etherscan is just literally a hub of all the transactions on the blockchain, and it just relays the information. All the information is transparent here. So here's even the the GUI price right now, and the most important thing to go and check are the holders. So you go, you click on the collection, and it's nice that they also nicely interchangeable. When you can go, you can copy there, you can go back here, and you can paste it, and then the CyberKongz collection comes up. So it's nicely interchangeable, but you go and you check the holders. Remember I said it's very important who holds a project, and you see all the holders, how many they held. You can go check when they bought it, if they minted it. All the information is here. Every single Kong holder will be here. Now, obviously, some people have something called ETH, um, something called ETH domains, and you can kind of identify these people if you're in the community and you know these people. Some of them is just their wallet here, like this person is just a wallet. It could be a burner, it could be someone that doesn't want you to know who they are, but you can check all their transactions. And this is really good to check if a project if is doing any funny business, as in if any money has gone missing, how they're spending their money. So you can go and you can track all these things, like you can go back to the contract and you can check how many tokens they hold. The cons for Summer Pattern Illusion have 2 art blocks, and then you can check all the transactions and even the pending ones, like this one hasn't even gone through yet, and you can check who's doing it, what they're doing, etc. So Etherscan is one of the most important places. So not only is Etherscan a place where you can check NFTs, there's a lot of information on tokens. And for instance, if you go, you can check other people's wallets. You can go here and just using an example, you paste, and you can check what tokens they have. They're like, oh, okay, cool. This person has some bananas, and you can go, what are bananas? How much are they trading for? You can go to the DEX tools, and you can see how much people are trading their tokens for. Oops, see, you can paste it like this, and there, boom, the banana contract comes on. and you can see more information with regards to the liquidity pool of comms. So this place is super important, not only just to see the holders, to see when transactions, TX's transactions are being put through the blockchain, how much people hold, and what's going on in the actual project. So again, you can see the max supply of the token, you can see the holders, and all this information is 100% transparent and confirmed through the blockchain and decentralized ecosystem of Ethereum. Um, and yes, I would love to take some questions. If anybody has some questions, I would love to add some more alpha tips if I missed anything, or you as an investor, as an NFT enthusiast, love to use. Please let us know. Um, and yeah, I will still link the flashbots and some of the things I spoke about earlier. Um, yeah, I will leave like 5 minutes for anybody who has any questions to come and ask.
Thanks a lot, Hogan, for the talk. I couldn't hear all of it because I joined a bit later. But from what I heard, I had one question. So you said one of your strengths is to find project early. Can I ask what are your sources to find the project early?
That's a really good question. And finding projects early is all about being in the community. My my just my feeling, like I bought a baby Kong at 1 ETH, and yesterday or a few days ago I sold it for just over 9 ETH. And I stumble on things because I'm curious, and the most important, my best source of being early is other projects and my research. So for instance, I sit in Humans of NFTs, anonymized. There's a channel called Wall Street Cons, and they come in and they tell you what projects are minting, just like we do here in Humans, and they talk about it, and then I go and I do my own research, and then I kind of pull up my template of, is the tokenomics okay if they can have the token, who's going to be, who's already whitelisted and who's in their Discord. So I open their Discord, I go into their Twitter, I check all their socials, and then I try to see who's the founder, what has the founder's previous experience, the mods. If it's a mod I know, I go and I message them and I ask them serious questions. I kind of grill them. I say, hey, I see this FUD in this regard. What's going on here? I really like this part of the project, but could you explain to me? And for a few days, I try to, what's the word? I try to soak it all in. I try to ask, and then, for instance, if I find it in Kongs, I go to Humans and I ask Humans, hey, I heard about this project. What do you think? And then I give my 2 cents, and then somebody who's smarter or not as smart, or doesn't matter, just another really cool community member will give their 2 cents from a different perspective, and then I can you know dive into it and go, oh, okay, that's actually, I think, yeah, that makes sense to me. I also agree it's a really beautiful picture or colorful situation, and I also think the tokenomics of the bananas is genius. I also think re-rolling the anonymized traits was really smart. And when you discuss this in a project, I think, and you can kind of get a sense of sentiment. So you can go in the Discord and you can ask them how they feel about it. Battlefly is another project that just got that is about to get minted soon. Just had a problem in their Discord. They got hacked, or one of their mods got hacked, and usually that will be a sign that's not so positive. But if you go in the Discord now and you see and you talk to the founders and you talk to the audience, you get a sense of what's going on, and then you can also get a sense of like, oh, it's going to be on Arbitrum, and all Arbitrum's previous projects were profitable, were good projects, so they have a good history. I hope I gave a decent answer.
Yeah, it was great. But related to this, what I would say I struggle with is I have maybe like 2 or 3 groups where I always come back. So anonymize humans, and I have like another alpha group called the one, and it's super hard for me to really I don't know, filter the noise because there is so much going on, so many conversations that I struggle to really find what's important and what's not in the new project that are coming or what people are talking about. Do you have a system to, I don't know, do you have like some people that you trust more than others, stuff like this?
So I don't like to tell people to trust other people because any any one of these people in your community can change. They're human, and most of them
Yeah,
aren't doxed. So, but I have a sense of a few people that if they create a project, I almost always at least enter the Discord and
yeah,
ask questions. That's the minimum.
yeah,
But I think how to filter the noise is the question basically, and I think only use only. I think if you a long-term investor, short-term, you need to only be choosing few projects. I think the noise is amplified by how many projects you're in. Like I'm looking at my left-hand side of my Discord, and there's like 50 projects. You can't keep up with 50 projects. You need to keep it
yeah,
separate.
it's, yeah, yeah.
You need to keep it organized as well, I would say. I know you're very organized and you keep Excel sheets of wallet tracking and maybe gas consumption, things like that. And I think projects also, like I have a minting Excel sheet where I give the most favorable to the least favorable if I'm whitelisted, and then I also put that in there. So, you know, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
what are some of the tips, the, the tips and tricks you use to filter the noise? I know you have some good ones. If you could share them, that would be great.
To be honest, it's a point I struggle with. So in smaller communities like humans, it's easy because you know the people and it's you're not just, I don't know, like it's not a waterfall of discussions. You know, you can follow what's happening. But when you are like in anonymized or when you are in other groups like the one, it's the other Discord I told you about, for me it's quite hard to I mean I do a bit like you, like there's a few names that if they call a project I instantly go and check what it is because I know that they make really good calls most of the time, not meaning that it's because I say something that is certainly true, but the chances are higher than maybe if it's another person. But then yeah, I miss a lot of project I would say because yeah, I cannot be all my time in the chat, and when I'm there I don't know. It's a full-time job almost, you know, to read what's happening in the alpha chat because there is so much going on. So I think I got lucky in some of the project that I went into because I was there at the right time and I managed to get the right alpha at the right time. But I missed so much as well, like Azuki and all this stuff. I completely missed it, where a lot of people got in. Yeah,
And I also just want to quickly touch on the fact that a lot of people like you and myself are guilty of you can't hit every project. Like even if you Lionel Messi at his prime, winning so many Ballon d'Ors, even every free kick or even easier, every penalty, he didn't score it. Like we're trying to invest in like 30 projects and you're trying to make a profit of every one of them. And I think that's also something that we need to be like very careful of.
yeah, yeah. I completely agree. But what you said on liquidity, I think it's super important as well. It's something I learned the hard way, especially now with the crisis with the war. So I knew like I got into NFT in September October last year, and it was crypto winter a bit like during between those 2 or 3 months. There was not much going on. And I watched a lot of videos there, and they were telling, yeah, keep your liquidity because it's important that once it's winter times like this, you could invest in long-term conviction plays basically. So it's important to have some liquidity for those moments. And just when the crisis happened, I almost had zero on my Ethereum account. I was full of projects, but I didn't sell any of those and was completely blocked. And I panicked a bit, and I had to sell basically the project where I had the least conviction in. So I think it's important, and it's a hard lesson I learned for the next bull run. So what happens is that I get into project, I get super attached to them, even if I don't know, like if I was a bit more, I don't know, you say it. Um, I can't find the word, but if I was a bit smarter, I would have sold them way earlier, because just to get profit, as you said, like it's important to get the profit and reuse this money that I acquired to invest in times like this one. And that's something I think I will definitely I definitely learned and I will do next time. So when there is a bull run, just take profits, at least enough profit on certain projects.
I have a similar personal story. Like I started, I would say the proper NFT investing when I joined Kongs in August, like the beginning of August, and I didn't have a lot of liquidity. I started with like literally a few ether, and I think it was like three, and literally from August till about 2 months ago, I never ever had over 4 or 5 ETH in liquidity, and it's a big problem. And I know 4 or 5 ETH for other people right now is a lot of money, and it is. But if you can be liquid all the time, you have to be. If you're smart, you're going to be liquid. Why? Because if an opportunity comes, whether it's a big one or a small one, whether you need to buy a baby con because it just dropped to 3 ETH and now it's rebounding to 6, or some project is minted and you can mint five of them, but you need zero point 0.1 ETH or 1.5 ETH. You always need liquidity. And my personal story is recently I've been trading and I've sold, like, I'm in the process of selling the rest of my NFTs, but I've sold like 30%, 30 to 60%, and I'll sell probably 90%. And I'm doing that to buy a small, my first small house here in my little country. And the situation is I'm learning now because I have so much liquidity, because that, all the liquidity I put away and I'm going to pull out into, fiat money. I have like 10, 15 ether, which I have sitting on, and I'm seeing an opportunity like, oh my goodness, here's the banana token. It just went to $11. It never goes that low. And I was thinking, great opportunity, really, really great opportunity. And you can only put in 2, 3 ether if you have the 2, 3 ether. So you always need to stay liquid. Even during war times, during crisis, during winters, there's always opportunities. And if you're liquid, you're the one that most likely will be in the best scenario to deal with the circumstances, whether it's bull or bear, whether it's winter or everything's flying. If everything's flying, you're able to buy it and hopefully sell it up. If everything's crashing, you have the ability to pick up, and this is one of the most important tips. During bears and winters are when you make the most money and the best time to invest. It's the most difficult time because everything's going down, but when you pick up those projects that are going down, that are very good projects, when the bull turns again, that's when you're 25, 35x and you need liquidity.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So yeah, I
The
sit
thing
on.
is,
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
yeah, so I'm in the case like where I have like between 3 and 5 Ethereum liquidity, which is for me not that bad in comparison to normally what I have. My goal is to reach 10 Ethereum liquidity at all time and invest what exceeds 10 Ethereum. But the problem at the moment is that so I sold most of the project that I could get rid of basically, and I tried, I don't know, like I try to get from from 3 hit to 10 hit during this crisis, but without selling my stuff because I already did it. So I'm trying to get on whitelist, but at the moment I cannot find any good project. And even if there are like some decent projects with whitelist, a lot of them are not doing that great when minting out basically. So I'm a bit like, yeah, I'm at 3 to 4 Ethereum, and I'm just chilling, and I have nothing much to do basically because I don't find any opportunities to get more liquidity basically right now.
Also a good time maybe to learn some extra skills. Like I learned during the last winter that when NFTs go dead, people love the meme coins and what they call the shit coins. I'm not a shitcoin trader and I don't know much about it, But I was learning during the bear market of October, September side, like you said last year. And when if you diversify your skills, and this comes ties into community again, if you diversify your skills, you can kind of swim upstream and fight these tides. And when NFTs are dead and you don't have liquidity, you can either grind or learn a new skill. I like to learn a new skill. I like to, pick up coding or talk to my local mod or something, just something cool to waste my time basically. I wouldn't say waste my time, but to put my time into.
No, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. So basically, you are investing in yourself.
Pretty much. Yeah, I always try to invest in myself. And I always try to add value in other communities because opportunities pop up, especially during crisis. You can help a project. Sometimes you're an investor and you want to turn into a moderator, you know. But I also don't want to talk too much. I would love to get other questions from anyone if they have anything on their mind with regards to alpha. If they would like to show their project for 2 seconds, that's also fine. If they would like to, if you would like to tell us about a project that you think is alpha. I might drop a few projects right now that I think is alpha just for the fun of it. Project called Wave Catchers. Not financial advice, but I think Wave Catchers is a good one. It's a nice project. When I say that, I mean people from Anonymous are building there, and I am quite happy with what they're doing. I think it's really cool. Their artwork is cool. They on their marketplace you can buy um, whitelist spots, and they have some really cool spots. I think I should read some of the spots to you guys, to everybody, so we can get a sense of what super cool projects they actually. I spoke to him, and I see a lot of projects are doing this recently with regards to. Oh, yeah, it is. So projects you can buy whitelist from are Kiwami, also a very good project that Anonymizer building. In fact, big, big alpha right now. I don't think anyone knows this. But Kiwami's contract is a Dutch auction, and it's being done by one of the best devs in the space, in my opinion, and his name is Mouse Dev. And the Dutch auction for the first time is going to operate like a normal Dutch auction. So let me just quickly explain this. Like, let's just say if it starts at 1 ETH and the last person to purchased it for point 0.1. Everyone is refunded their ETH, and they basically purchase it for point 0.1. So everyone is at an equal standing, which is insane. And MouseDev MD, we call him, has created this, and he hasn't released any information. I spoke to him about 4 days ago on a random voice chat, and he was so kind to give me some more alpha. So I'm very, very big on Kiwami. But on um what is the project's name? So sorry. The project's name was um where you can buy whitelist spots. I just want to tell the project's name one more time. I think it's Wave Catchers, but let me just confirm. Yes, Wave Catchers. On Wave Catchers, you can buy Kiwami, Psyker, War Kittens. War Kittens is another project I believe to be alpha. I believe it to be alpha because I think Mouse Dev is on there, and a lot of anonymized builders are there. As you can tell, I'm a very big anonymized fan. They're really smart people. Small potions. I think it might. This is an ETH-based project, but they are selling whitelists for Arbitrum stuff as well, which for me is huge because I missed out a lot of them, and a lot of them are alpha. But let me continue. Ape Wolves, Fat Cax Style, It Remains, Genesis Dragon, sorry, Soul Splices, Small Obits, and those are the ones you can buy. And the tokenomics are pretty cool. And let me tell you some other projects that I have my eyes on. A fellow human holder told us about Meta Wars. I when when Ideal speaks, I listen. He meant you see when people when you can go on Etherscan and you can check people's wallets and they tell you, hey, I have 30 Ether orcs and I minted half of them or something like that. They already have a CV of trust and someone's wallet is just like it's like a Twitter stamp of approval, like that blue tick. It's literally that. So other projects that I'm really big on right now that are minted out and might come out soon. Toadstools, another big one. I'm really big on most Arbitrum projects. I don't want to go through all of them. I really love Foxfam. They are building incredibly beautiful, aesthetically pleasing stuff, and they have a decent alpha group. I really like their vibe. I do like Crypto Hoots. It's a long-term project. It's a project called Scholars. It's a fellow Kong project. Founders are all Kongs basically, and close friends, considered family. Minted. See projects like I'll give you an example. A project this called Scholars mints for point I believe 125. Doesn't even mint out. The price drops. They stop the mint. They burn the rest. They come back a few months later. They work really hard. The floor price is above 1 ether. They have a strong community, strong tokenomics, strong everything. They just don't have a lot of volume, but that's okay. Everything comes in time. Um, New projects coming out. I think Sneaky's Internet Friends one could be a big one, but it's a lot of hype. You might not get into it. Um, and yeah, anyone else want to share some projects for the last 5 minutes that they might be keen on? I've shared a few. Um, yeah. Okay, I think we will wrap it up then. I would just like to thank everyone for joining and contributing, and I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, you can always at me in humans. I answer almost all the time.
Cool, man. Thank you so much. Learned a lot, and that was awesome. Yeah, super cool. Very insightful.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for joining. And yeah, if anyone has any questions that they're nervous to ask, they can always ask me in the chat. But otherwise, I want everyone to have a lovely evening or morning, and I'll catch you in our Discord. Cheers.
Cool. Cheers, all.
Cheers. Thanks a lot for that.
No problem. Have a good one.
Thank you, you too, man.